Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Michael Haynes of Listen, Innovate, Grow. Michael, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Great. Thanks to be here.
No problem. Super excited to have you on as well, too. And before we jumped in, I want to read a little bit more about Michael so you can hear about all these awesome things that he's doing. And Michael is a B2B customer and marketing strategy advisor. Michael's passion is to empower small and medium-sized businesses with buyer-driven approaches to acquire and retain business customers and drive business growth. Michael works primarily with service-based small, medium-sized businesses and professional services, IT, and financial services. He has over 23 years of experience and has advised small to medium-sized enterprises, startups, and corporates in Australia, Canada, Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East. Michael, are you ready to speak to the IMCEO community?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Let's do it then. So to kick everything off, I wanted to kind of, start in the beginning, hear a little bit more on how you got started. Could you take us through what I call your CEO story? What led you get started with your business?
My CEO story. So in a nutshell, I started off in corporate back in Canada, was working for a large retailer, Canadian Tire Corporation, then did some work at Kraft Foods. Kraft Foods is their Canadian division. Then I got a bit of the itch to travel, relocate, moved here down under to Sydney, Australia in 2000, and then had some various corporate roles, one working at one of the big banks as a marketing manager, then progressed over and worked at Accenture, management consulting firm, then moved over to one of the large telecommunications companies, Telstra, where I headed up their customer research and analysis in their wholesale division. And that's where I really got into the B2B space. And then that'll take us up to about, 2010. And then at that point, I was offered to go into the top talent executive program. And I thought, working in big corporate as an exec, no, I think it's time to do something different. So after a career break, went to South America and volunteer, I then set up my independent consulting firm under my initial brand, To Excel, in 2011, and I've been working as an independent fundamentally ever since.
Nice. I absolutely appreciate that. And I don't know if you would definitely agree with this. I almost feel like getting the opportunity to kind of work and have those different experiences, to me, like I always feel like at the heart of entrepreneurship is about creating solutions to problems. And I feel like having that kind of varied experience, I guess you can say, gives you that kind of new light to be able to not look at things in the same way that a lot of businesses and organizations can fall victim to.
Oh, absolutely. So that varied corporate experience was very good in terms of building my skills around research, analysis, strategy, how to be customer centric, what are some of the key approaches of what to do, and also what not to do as well, by seeing some of the things that big corporates do and where they kind of get bottlenecked and what's important to customers. You also begin to recognize some of those disconnects and some of those things that you want to be able to work through in smaller, more nimble organizations. And you can really see some of those places that can be opportunities for them to really focus on and deliver to customers and be able to win in the market by recognizing some of those potential bottleneck and problem areas.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so many times we forget as sometimes smaller, more nimble organizations that we have that opportunity to really kind of see an opportunity and really leverage that a lot quicker than those larger organizations. And I know that's a small piece of what you do to kind of help these organizations that you work with. So I know I read your bio a little bit, talked a little bit more about it. Could you drill down a little bit deeper, take us through how you serve your clients and what exactly you do to support them?
So great question. So I'm all about working with small, medium enterprises, service-based businesses, as you said, to help them develop the strategies and action plans to enable them to acquire new business clients, retain and expand, so get more cross-sells, upsells, and retain those clients that they're seeking, and do it through a framework which I call the Listen, Innovate, Grow B2B framework, which has 3 core activities that every B2B organization and every SME needs to be doing. So the first part is about making sure that they're listening. And listening is all about getting an in-depth understanding on 3 levels. First is listening to you, which is all about understanding you as your company. What's your vision, your mission, your purpose? What are your strengths? What are your goals? What are your capabilities and resources that you have? That's one area that you want to be focusing on. So you get an idea of where you should be focusing on, where are you winning in terms of what kinds of industries, markets, and customers.
Mhm.
Secondly is listening to the market. So really having an understanding of what's going on in your external environment in terms of your industries, in terms of your geographic markets, what are the regulations, technology disruptions, what are end customers looking for, what are your competitors doing? And that's very, very important. And particularly in the environment that we're in right now, Gresham, it's really important that you're continually doing that market scanning to understand what's happening in your external environments across your industries and markets, which are continually changing. And then the third element is listening to your customers. And that is really about really having an in-depth understanding about your customers in terms of their needs, priorities, key challenges, pain points. But in B2B, it's very important that it's not just enough to understand at a customer level. So I mean, at an organizational level. So let's say an SMB wants to get into the IT department, let's say of United Airlines, for example. It's not enough to just understand about the organization United Airlines. You need to understand within that particular department, that part of the business, who are the decision makers, who are those buyers and influencers, and you need to understand their specific priorities, challenges, pain points, areas of focus. And then everything that you do in terms of what you deliver, in terms of product, services, advice, how you deliver in terms of channels, hours of operation, level of expertise, how you promote and engage with those decision makers, all of that has to reflect around those decision maker needs, the needs of those individuals, those people that are involved in that purchase decision process. So that's hence why it's important that you are buyer driven. And the reason why that's important is because buyers and users, when you're getting into large organizations, those who make the decision to purchase your, let's say you're an IT company and you're trying to get into that airline, those that make the decision to whether or not they're going to purchase your services, and those who might use could be completely separate different people. So you might have the head of IT who might make the decision, but they may never actually be involved, but they have those KPIs, those business objectives, operational, financial objectives they're trying to achieve. So you have to make sure you're catering to their needs and priorities, in addition to those who are actually using it, your project managers, your analysts, etc. So it's a subtle distinction, but it's quite important that you recognize buyers and users, and that you are making sure you're delivering to buyer requirements. Otherwise, you could have missed opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And it definitely missed value as well, too. It kind of sounds like if you don't have that opportunity to create that win-win-win opportunity. And that listening piece sounds like a very foundational piece, because I always look at it or approach it kind of like a doctor. When you go to the doctor, you figure out what exactly is going wrong so that you can try and see what you're providing does provide that solution. But if you don't ever listen, then it's hard to
Yeah.
really figure out how to create that win-win opportunity.
Yes. And so once you have done that listening on those three levels, that gives you really where you need to focus. So what industries, markets, customers, what buyers you need to focus on. Then it's determining how you're going to win. So based on understanding those needs, priorities, and challenges, then you're going to be determining what are the areas where you need to make some changes or new introductions and or improvements, which is business innovation. And it might be around your products, your services. It could be around your processes, it could be on how you deliver, it could be about getting into joint ventures. So then by having an understanding of where you're going to focus, what those needs and priorities are, then you'll determine how you're going to win, new product lines, product extensions, new channels, what have you. And that's how you're going to innovate in terms of meeting those needs. And then your growth phase is about how you're going to sustain that growth. So what are the different, marketing and sales strategies that you're going to be using to be able to, acquire, retain those customers, engage with them so that you can also maintain and get that growth that you're seeking.
Yeah, that's definitely huge. And I love that kind of consistency that you kind of spoke to. It's not just, win for like a moment. It's to continue to have that growth and perpetuity. I imagine most people want, but I love, again, because I think so many times organizations or even, people have really great ideas and they're great innovations, but they haven't done that listening piece. So they just kind of innovate without really listening and understanding all those different aspects. And a lot of times they fall short because the growth doesn't happen because they haven't really found those foundational principles, it sounds like.
Yes, it's very important to have those foundational principles. You're quite right. So that listening, that might, continually scanning, understanding of your market and your customers, your buyers, that is something that has to be going on an ongoing basis, particularly in this environment as priorities are changing, as the environment is changing. buyers are going to have different priorities, different focuses. You need to maintain that you have that relevancy. So hence, having that continual understanding will know where you need to modify in terms of kinds of insights and information and advice that you're providing, in terms of what topics and how you're providing those, so that you're constantly providing what your customers need in the manner in which your customers, your buyers want. So you're maintaining that relevancy.
Yeah, it's so important to be, kind of you said, customer focused, and to understand exactly how to, in order to do that. So I wanted to ask you now for what I call your secret sauce, and this could be for yourself personally or your business or a combination of both. But what do you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique?
What sets me apart, makes me unique, is the fact that I am very buyer driven. I think my secret sauce is my ability to help organizations to do that listening, to bring together those different elements of what's going on within their company, combined with what's going externally with the market and their customers, to bring that together to say, what, fundamentally, what are those areas you need to focus, and how are you going to win? What do we need to be focusing on? Because fundamentally, your strategies in B2B to deliver to your customers is really three things. What you need to deliver. So it's not just your product or solution, but it's the information and advice and insights to help decision makers make those decisions. How you deliver in terms of, how are you going to channel geographic reach, expertise, what quality, what do you need to really focus on in your method of delivery, and how do you engage? So my, I guess, secret sauce is really about pulling those insights across from that listening, and how you translate that into those three elements of how you win in terms of what to deliver, how to promote and engage, and turning it into very actionable steps. So I'm always big in taking everything to an action plan where you can say, these are the priorities, these are the key activities, and who's going to do them, because that's how you get traction and momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I can imagine that it can seem overwhelming if you're not able to kind of distinguish or have those priorities about what's actually moving the needle forward, so to speak, and to
Yeah.
really be able to understand these are the three things that are going to see you have the most traction. And then after that, you do X, Y, and Z. But to really be able to kind of synthesize all that information and really come up with a game plan in order to win, as you said, really allows organizations to have, I don't want to say control, but I feel like maybe a little bit more awareness over what to do and how exactly that can have an impact.
You're exactly right. By really guiding them on how they pull those insights together, it helps them really give clarity and focus on what is their roadmap to win. How are they going to win? It really keeps them really focused and gives them very actionable in terms of what are the things we're actually going to execute. It's taking focused action. That's really what I'm aiming to help them do.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing, because you can really be focused on the wrong things or focused on too many things, but really have that focused action that's going to allow you that opportunity to win is so huge. So definitely appreciate that, Michael. And so I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
I guess a CEO hack for me, I guess I'm big on planning. So I like to, at the end of every day, reflect at what I've done, what's worked, what's not worked. And then particularly at the end of the week, I like to reflect on, to say, okay, where I'm at, and then start on Friday, start to plan for the following week in terms of what are the key things I need to do. And I really break it down to kind of A, B, and C. So A being, what are the priorities that are must do and most aligned to building and growing the business, and then priorities B and C. So it's really that planning for the week, and also at the end of each day to say how I did each day and what's going to happen for the next day. I find it just keeps me focused on what are the things that I really need to, those A, B, and C priorities on a daily and weekly basis keeps me focused, so that I'm focusing on the things that matter, because there's so much that you can get subsumed in.
Yeah, he could definitely get bogged down. And it's so funny. The saying is, the way you do some things is the way you do all things. And I love kind of hearing that kind of synergy between how you help organizations with that 1, 2, 3 and the ABC that you just mentioned, because it helps out so much, because as you said, you can get bogged down with so many of the different things, different priorities. But if you really can, I think I've heard like the best way to win the day, the best way to win the week is actually starting before. So
Yeah.
having that Friday where you can really plan and understand, it gives you a lot more kind of control, I think you can say, over the day, because things will happen, things will pop up. But if you know this is exactly what my priorities are, you can make sure those are top of mind.
Yes, and that always alleviates stress levels and helps you stay on track, when you know, okay, at the end of the day, these are the three things that are going to really move the dial that I have to make sure I get done, so that you know that if you get those done, yeah, it keeps you focused, keeps you on track, and keeps your stress levels at a manageable level.
Yes, absolutely, which is very, very important. So I love how those parallels come about. And so I wanted to ask you now for what I call a CEO nugget. So this could be like a word of wisdom or a piece of advice. It might be something you would tell a client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
Um, I would say it's a tip I got from a good friend of mine who's an entrepreneur in New York, has a couple businesses. And I guess it's two things: have no shame and always be marketing. Yeah, Cynthia was always big on, you always have to be marketing, always have to be promoting yourself, and be switched on, because you never know when you're going to meet someone who might know someone. You might be sitting beside someone on the plane and they might be a CEO of a potential client. That happened to me a few years ago. So yeah, have no shame and always be marketing, because if you don't promote yourself, no one else is going to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny when I first started my business. I think the first thing that I read, or one of the first things I read, was to the people that are successful are the people that are telling everybody that they have their business and what it is that they're doing. And I love that how not having any shame and always be marketing kind of go in tandem, because I think the people, I always say the name of the game is all about visibility and being found. So being able to have that visibility to tell people what you're doing and do that in a marketing way, you never know when or how those opportunities come about. But if you're always doing it, you always kind of have that those actions, that mindset.
Yes, people will, yes, you'll start to get that visibility, that cut through. People will see you, start talking about you. Absolutely.
Nice. I absolutely love that nugget. So now I want to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So Michael, what does being a CEO mean to you?
I guess CEO for me is about delivering impact. For me, it's about delivering impact to the clients that I serve, so that they can achieve the objectives that they want to achieve. And often with many of my clients, I found a lot of them, they have a higher purpose that they're trying to achieve. So it's having impact with them. And I also am big on giving back. So helping to entrepreneurs that are coming up, leaders that are coming up, helping them, providing them insights, guidance, advice, and being a sounding board for them to help them reach their aspirations and their dreams. So ultimately, for me, it's about delivering impact.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate you for talking about, as we were talking about, listening, the multifaceted aspects of being able to kind of have an impact. Because I think so many times we think of bottom line, and of course you can have an impact when the bottom line is taken care of. But as you said, having those mission driven organizations, being able to kind of reach back and provide insight and influence and mentorship to so many people, there's so many ways we can be of impact. And I think if we forget the holistic aspect of that, of being a quote unquote CEO, we really are, I guess, not really having the impact that we could have if we don't look at all those different
Yeah,
aspects.
yeah. And we do have a lot to bring by virtue of our skills, our experience of what we've
Yeah.
done. There's a lot to bring to our clients, to future leaders, and to our communities as well. So yeah, for me, it's ultimately about creating impact on multiple levels.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like we talked about with always be marketing, sometimes that impact is seen, sometimes it's not seen
Yeah.
initially, and it can go and create a ripple effect that we can hear and see for years and years and years. So, Michael, truly appreciate that definition, and I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you want to let our readers and listeners know, and of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things that you're working on.
Fantastic. So for those that want to learn more about how they can develop those strategies and action plans for client acquisition, retention, and growth, visit my website, listeninnovategrow.com. So that's listeninnovategrow.com. And there are a wealth of resources, videos, articles that you can utilize to help you build your understanding of what you need to do. There's also a free playbook, Understanding the Business Buyer in the New Norm, which shows you what you need to understand about today's business buyers in this current environment, and how to go about leveraging that to drive those action plans that you need to get those clients that you're after. So listeninnovategrow.com, and I'm also very active on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I truly appreciate that again, Michael. We will have the links and information in the show notes as well, too, so that everybody can follow up with you. But I appreciate you for providing so much information as we kind of touched on, before we hit the record button and even just now, like how important it is in this time and age to really be aware and listening to what's happening in the market with your customers and all those different aspects. So I appreciate you for providing some insight today, for providing so much insight and information on your website as well, too. And I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. Take care.